Thanks for joining me for this edition of the Church Security Answer Man. My name is Joe Puckett. I am so glad you're joining me today. And I want to talk about some breaking news. I consider breaking news. I did wait a couple of days to begin to broadcast this because I wanted to get as many facts as I could. This did occur Sunday, this last Sunday, and it's a shooting outside of a church in Chicago. And we all know how violent Chicago is right now with their gun violence and street violence and gang issues. And so this occurred in that region. So let's talk about the facts. And I want to be challenging you. What would you do in these circumstances, especially if you have a similar logistics issue? So this occurred at the Universal Community Church just before 11:30 a.m. on Sunday, this last Sunday. And we have a situation where a family of the pastor, some relatives, are pulling up to the church to park, and they see a stranger in the pastor's SUV that's parked in the front. Somebody's going through the pastor's vehicle. And, initial reports that I saw, some news interviews, the folks said that they it seemed like they were going to confront the person. They were pulling up and asking them what was going on or what they were doing. Person pulls out a long rifle of some sort, a semi-auto. They said it fired a lot, some of the witnesses said. And ends up striking the family in their vehicle and striking the 7-year-old in their vehicle. So, as they're pulling up, this begins to happen. This gunfire begins to happen, whatever the circumstance is. They are related to the pastor. This is the pastor's SUV that's parked right outside the church. So here you get a look here, a little sense of the SUV we're talking about is just on the other side of this Chicago PD car. And in fact, here's a little bit better view of it. So we're talking about a situation, and this is where I really want to challenge you. Normally I say, we don't go past our boundaries of our church. So property lines, we don't go past those fences, property lines. But in this case, you can see where this is just outside the fence. It's on the street, just outside the doors of our church, just outside the fence. So in this case, what are we going to do? And I'm asking you for your thoughts and get your team's thoughts and your leader's thoughts, especially if you have something circumstances similar to this situation here. Where does our concern stop in this situation? Should it stop at the fence? Because normally on the small stuff, somebody steals something or somebody interrupts a service, then, I'm not chasing them off the church property. That's police job. I'll call them. I only go to the church property line. But now I have church members in a violent city and issues going on right outside the fence. Am I going to do something about that as a security member? And I think it's something we need to talk about ahead of time. If you have this street parking issue right outside your church, then what are you going to do? Where's your boundaries? Where do you go to look at how far does your boundary go? Now, in this case, Chicago PD was apparently training real close, heard the gunfire, something to that effect, and was able to get there very quickly, ended up chasing the suspect and getting him within about 40 minutes. So, what are we going to do long-term, short-term? What would you do? Should there be any planning for safety? And I'm really concerned about us planning for these kind of things. If we have violent situation, we just talked in the last episode about lawsuit, church getting sued for not having adequate security. And where does that play into this? Should we be planning to have a little more security at our church front doors or walking around our church? Those are things that I think need to be discussed and answered, especially in this circumstance. And, and I'm not judging, no criticism. This is strictly an example I'm using to help us to think. But what would you be doing if you were in this circumstance? If this was your church property or similar to your church property where the fence stops right outside the church, the property is there, and then you have a lot of street parking in a violent area. So what are we going to do? And I want to add to this. We're in a violent city, so no criticism, but They had a July shooting at a funeral at this same church just this last July. So what, 3 months ago? And so 4 months ago, and there was 3 shot in that circumstance. So we need to be looking at, I would think we need to be looking at security. We need to be having some folks posted out front, even if it's on our property. We're not going off the property. In this case, they would have been able to view the person breaking into the car. And so, and being able to stop this a lot sooner, if you will. So what are you going to do? What would you do in this circumstance? What should we be doing in this circumstance? And really, it's about discussing it and planning for it, especially if you have these types of circumstances. Now, I hope you'll like and subscribe to our channel here. We're trying to put out more and more information to help you, your team. If you're a team leader, church leader, we're trying to put out information to help you all the time. And you can help us by liking and subscribing to this channel to where it helps us spread more of this information. You can also go to the churchsecurityanswerman.com for more information. We've got lots of stuff over there for you. And then I'd recommend that you watch this video right here to give you further related information to this topic.